Hello everybody. Well, I figure I talk to myself on the way to work and I'm going places anyway, so I may as well talk into my channel and broadcast it to those that are interested in hearing it. So I conducted the checkout in the Cessna 172 earlier today, and it was a successful checkout. The young man that I flew with did a really nice job. I was very happy that he arrived prepared. I had asked him to complete some paperwork and waivers and such, and he arrived with that paperwork ready. So I was really happy about that. He also came prepared with weight and balance, and he also came prepared with a weight and balance, and he also kind of had an idea of what we were going to do. So when we sat down and talked, he had some good questions for me, as well as was able to answer my questions regarding limitations of the airplane, wind limitations, for example, and airspeeds. We were able to have a discussion about airspace and airport operations specific to the Kissimmee Airport. So all of that went smoothly, and afterwards we did a pre-flight, and he was able to, he had a lot of time in the Cessna 172. He was very familiar with it, and so he was able to take me through a pre-flight, and he was able to explain things as he went along. I found that very intuitive, and I enjoyed listening to him, because this way I knew what was on his mind while he was checking for these things, so I didn't have to ask him. So for those of you that are going to go get a checkout somewhere, keep that in mind. You know, speak as you're doing things, and that will help the evaluator or the instructor working with you know what's on your mind. We're not mind readers. After the pre-flight, or actually during the pre-flight, they gave me an opportunity to ask him a lot about the airplane, make sure that he was familiar with it. He was able to program the GPS. It has a Garmin 400 series GPS, and there are also other components of the airplane that I wanted to make sure he knew how to operate. There are some differences with this airplane to other airplanes that I felt was important for him to understand. For example, it has a lever that releases a banner towing, a banner. So he was kind of curious, he wasn't sure what that was, and to be honest with you, when I first saw that airplane, I didn't know what that was either. It took me a minute to figure it out. So after the pre-flight, basically did all the basic stuff, picked up ATIS, went through all of our checklists. We took out the POH because somebody had removed the checklist specific for that aircraft, and they had a different checklist. They had a different model Cessna. They had a SP model checklist. This is a Papa model. The SP has a version that has a G1000 cockpit. So the pre-flight is very different than the pre-flight for this airplane. So we did that, and we used the POH for all the checklists, which that's one of the reasons why the POH needs to be on the aircraft. It's a requirement. Remember, guys, airworthiness certificate, the radio license, the registration, the operator's manual, and then a weight and balance. Those are basic items that need to be on the airplane for every flight. After we got the ATIS, we taxied to the active runway. They're using runway 15 in Kissimmee, and so I was very pleased to see that he used proper wind corrections during taxi. That showed me that he pays attention to detail and knows that even these small things are important. His wind corrections on the taxi was evident because he also applied proper wind corrections on the takeoff, which made for a very smooth takeoff and landing, even though we had a slight crosswind. We lined up for takeoff, and I was very pleased with his checklist usage and his procedures. We climbed out and we departed Kissimmee to the west. While operating to the west of the field in a practice area, we climbed to 3,000 feet. At 3,000 feet, we did some clearing turns, cleared the area before we did any maneuvers. And one of the maneuvers that I like doing with guys when I check them out is slow flight. It shows me, number one, that they can control the aircraft at slow speeds, which you are on landing, right? You're at slow speeds. So at 3,000 feet, we slowed it right down to about 50 knots, just the bottom of the green arc in the 172. And we did some turns left and right, about 90 degrees to the left, 90 degrees to the right. I asked him to climb and descend while in slow flight, and I wanted to make sure that he understood that in slow flight you are in the region of reverse command. So that means that where you normally apply power to go fast and you pitch up or down to climb or descend, in this state it's reverse. So you add power to climb or reduce power to descend, and then if you want to speed up, you're either pitching up or down. You pitch up, you slow down, you pitch down, you speed up, which is basically what's happening when you're landing. You're just a little faster than that, right? Because instead of 50 knots, you're doing about 60 to 65 on the 172. And so if you find yourself a little bit high, which he did more than once, when we came back to practice takeoffs and landings, I would ask him, how are you going to get down? What are you going to do? And at first he kind of had the inclination to, at first he was going to go ahead and pitch down, and then I said, remember, we were practicing slow flight, and this is the reason why. And this airplane has a 180 horsepower engine, so it performs really well. And even though he had the power back to 1500 RPM, man, that airplane just wanted to fly. So he was getting high and fast. And I said, just chop the power. Just reduce the power. If you need to reduce it to idle, reduce it to idle. And then when he did, the airplane continued with a 500 to 600 foot per minute rate of descent, which was perfect. And then it recaptured the glide path, and we made a nice smooth landing in the touchdown zone, and it worked out really well. He had really good crosswind corrections, which I liked. He is aware of his surroundings, and he landed in the touchdown zone, and he stopped with minimal braking. All good procedures in my viewpoint. We did 3 takeoffs and landings, and I observed that he was consistent with that, and so I called it a day. I thought that that was sufficient. So we did turns, maneuvers, a couple other maneuvers, and slow flight, configuration changes. He showed me basically go-around procedures. You know, I don't like the idea that guys are just going to bring the flaps up on a go-around. That's not the way you should do it. You should bring the flaps up in increments. You bring the flaps up, power, you go full power, bring 10 degrees of flaps. As you continue to accelerate, you bring the flaps up 1 notch at a time. That's the way you're going to do it on a big airplane also. You don't just, boom, take all the flaps out and take all the lift away, you know, or that extra lift from the airplane. Not a smart move. So we did that, and I mean, in increments, you know. We came to a full stop, we parked the aircraft, we tied it down, and prepared it for the next flight. So we coordinated getting fuel so that the next guy arrives and it's already fueled up. And then Another thing that I liked, very, very small item, but it shows professionalism. I talked about preparing the aircraft for the next student or for the next pilot, and something as simple as folding the seatbelt on the seat, just putting it over the seat, buckling it together, and then the 172 has a shoulder harness, and right above the door there's an area where you can stow the seatbelt. So you fold it and you stow it. And I always make it a point to do that. And I know that the next guy that uses it has to see it. He has to notice it. He notices it, and hopefully this is gonna, promote good habits. It shows care and professionalism, and care for the next pilot and for the airplane. And it does show a lot about, or says a lot about, who the person is as a pilot. If you walk out of the airplane and you leave a bunch of empty cups and a bag of Burger King on the floor, straws and stuff, or you spill liquid and you don't bother to clean it up, it says a lot about who you are and how little you care about the airplane. And honestly, if I ever see anything like that, I would disqualify a guy from continuing to fly the plane. I would rather lose a little bit of money from that person renting than to have to spend the money he pays replacing carpets, replacing seats, or other stuff on the airplane. So a person that behaves like that is like a cancer. And the best thing to do is to cut that cancer out of your operation. Trust me, folks. I've been in this industry for a long time. Don't worry about the money. Some of you are struggling out there, and it's a shame because these persons who are not taking care of your airplanes, they don't know what it's like to be an owner and have overhead, to have a $15,000 or $20,000 a year insurance payment just to have the airplane available on the ramp. Add another $3,000 or $4,000 on tie down or hangar space, which is even worse, and all of the other expenses that go along with maintenance. So it's a real shame when you have someone like this who is going to learn at your expense. It's not until he meets somebody like me that puts him in their place and gives him a wake-up call that they'll realize it. And they may think, listen, I'm going to tell some of you young guys something. Don't think that, okay, well, I'll just go fly the next plane. No. I'll remember you. If you're in my plane and you do that, even though you're young, I'll remember that name. And I'm not going to go out of my way to ruin your career, but people remember. And your fellow pilot that gets the plane right after you, he's going to remember. It's like, wow, that guy, he used to fly that plane, and and he would leave it all messed up with Burger King bags and empty cups, or stains. He didn't care. He would add a quart of oil and he would just leave the empty bottle in the back. Very lacking professionalism. That guy is going to remember you. And you don't know. That guy could be your co-pilot, or that guy could be your captain at the next place you work, or he could be your chief pilot. Okay? Or he may be in a position to give a reference to you. And that's the reference he will give. And as he should. Because a leopard doesn't change their spots. This is where you change that behavior now. You're working towards a professional pilot career, so start acting like it. Start acting like you're a professional. You are. You're working towards a professional pilot career. So don't act like a hobo. Get a haircut. Shave. Put on some clean clothes. Look the part. Don't show up to the airport with a scruffy beard. And I know that's the style nowadays with young people. But, when you get to the airlines, the beard thing is over. As well as for corporate. Beard is over. You know why? Because you need a mask to seal on your face so that you can survive in a rapid decompression. So think about that. Start looking the part. If you're going to wear a beard, clean it up. You don't have to be like ZZ Top with a beard down to here. Get a shave, comb your hair, put on some clean clothes, look the part. Be who you want to be, guys. Anyways, so this young man, he passed the checkout, and I was so pleased that I sent him a message afterwards to tell him that I thought he did such an amazing job, and I'm really happy that he's going to be flying my airplanes. So I don't know. I hope some of this helps some of you guys. I'm going to speak my mind more into the future, and if you're interested in listening, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel and you gave me a like here and there. And if anybody needs advice about anything, I've been in the airline industry for about 30 years or so. I've worked everywhere from multiple regional airline jobs to 2 major airline jobs, and I've been a captain everywhere I've worked. Currently with a major airline now. I'm not able to discuss who I work for because we have very strict social media policies, and I need to respect that. So if I ever mention my employer or anything, I don't mean to, and if I do, it will always be my opinion and not the opinion of my employer. Anyways, I hope that this video helps someone who's looking for a checkout, and I wish everyone well. God bless.